Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Today we are going to be doing what if Luffy had the solo leveling system. We are going to doing a full story. Also, if you like my videos, make sure to like and subscribe and hit the bell, and make sure you have it on all. With that out of the way, let's begin. Chapter 1, A Legend is Born. It was a sunny day on an unknown island on the Grand Line in the New World. It was a summer island that wasn't known by the world government. Here in a grandiose hospital we could observe two men anxiously waiting for something. The first man is a tall, tanned, broad-chested, muscular old man. He has a beard and a scar over his left eye. His eye color is blue, and his hair is dark with white stripes going through it. It seemed age was getting to him. He wears a white suit with a blue shirt underneath, and a greenish tie around his neck. He also wears a white cape with the red and black shoulder pads on the back of his cape. There was only a single word written in kanji: justice. The other man has specky black hair with a widow's peak, and a tattoo on the left side of his face, which is colored dark red. He has a bit of stubble on his chin. He is most often seen sporting a grin, but right now he wasn't grinning. He had a serious look on his face. He was wearing a large green cloak. Those two men were really famous. Most exactly, one was famous, and the other was infamous. You see, Monkey D. Garp is one of the strongest marines alive. This fact supported by his actions. 3 years ago he fought and caught Goldie. Roger the Pirate King, the known strongest man on Earth. The only ones known to match him were Garp himself and Whitebeard, the other man with unrivaled powers, which we won't explain until later. Roger got executed later. The other one was Monkey D. Dragon, the biological son of Garp. As his father was one of the most great and exalted marines, you would think the dragon would want to follow in his father's footsteps and become a marine, but here you would be dead wrong. Dragon became something that every marine in world government hated: a revolutionary. Dragon himself hated the world government corruption, and the so-known celestial dragons who would abuse their status of descendants of the funders of the world government to do anything they wanted. There were no rules for them. Dragon was disgusted with this, so he created the Revolutionary Army to destroy the world government and bring true peace and justice to the world. You might think right now that the two of them should be fighting to the death because they were in two different factions with different ideals, but here you would be wrong again. Garp joined the Marines when he was really young, so he didn't know about the corruption of the world government, but after years of doing his duty as a Marine he learned too much. Right now he couldn't resign and leave the Marines, because even though he hated the world government conduct, he himself still had justice coursing through his veins. He still wanted to catch evildoers. Garp actually was supportive of his son's actions in secret. He himself would never say that out loud. Garp turned towards Dragon and said, "You brat, why did you drag me here? Don't you think that I will catch you and throw you into impel down?" Dragon turned towards Garp with a grin on his face and said, "Father, even if you wanted to catch me it wouldn't be so easy. I'm not the same kid you would tie balloons to and leave to float or getting thrown towards the lions." Garp smiled at those memories. The good times of your childhood. Dragon continued, "Anyways, back to business. You need to know that your grandchild is born right now, and you will have to take care of him in the future. You should know why." The grin on Dragon's face disappeared after he said that. Garp turned to Dragon, "Well, brat, it seems you won't be able to even take care of your own child. Aren't you kind of shameless to dump him with me? You should also know that even though I should be able to take care of him for a while, I won't be able to stay with him forever." Dragon nodded at his father's reasoning and said, "I actually have a plan for him. Take him into East Blue on our birth island, and when you can't take care of him anymore, leave him in care of someone of Fuchsia village. You are rather well known there, aren't you?" Garp looked again at his son and nodded mutely. The nurse that was inside the room ran outside really fast, and when her eyes landed on Dragon, she said hurriedly, "Mister, please come inside. The child has been born, but his mother won't resist anymore. There were complications, and she doesn't have much time left. She requested to see you before she passes away." Dragon nodded with a sad look on his face. He actually knew, and his lover knew too, that she wouldn't be able to survive if she gave birth, but she insisted anyway. You see, in the Monkey family there was a very high percentage chance for the mother who gave birth to die, because the strength at birth of the Monkey family was way higher than the others. The mother couldn't survive giving birth due to the amount of nutrients needed to keep alive such an abnormal child. That's why Dragon grew up motherless. It seemed his child would do the same. Dragon entered the room. His lover was on the hospital bed with a little bundle in her arms. The bundle seemingly had tons of energy. He laughed a weird laugh that sounded like shishishi with his baby voice, and he moved around in his cloth bundle. Dragon looked at the situation with a smile on his face, but the smile disappeared almost instantly, because his wife's heartbeat was getting slower and slower. It seemed that her life was almost at the end. Dragon walked near the bed and looked in his wife's eyes. Their eyes locked for a whole 30 seconds. There were no words needed between the two of them. With her last breath she gave him the bundle and uttered 3 words, "Monkey D." Luffy. The heart monitor near the bed gave a long beep. Her heart stopped. Dragon's eyes grew misty, and water started to pour out of his eyes. He was crying. Luffy, seeing his father sad, he started to wail and cry as well. He wasn't happy anymore, because Luffy himself felt that someone precious to him disappeared forever. It wasn't instinct. It was the big blue screen that appeared in his face that said, "Congratulations to host, with your birth you unlocked the strongest system. Unfortunately your mother had to die because of that." With that message, Luffy's great future was set in stone. Even his father and grandfather will be so shocked of his growth in the future that their jaws will hit the ground. System powers. There is no level, but there are stats. SCR power. Augie speed. Date endurance. And academical intelligence. With life intelligence, making good battle plans, common sense, etc. Unlockable stats. Well, the higher the will, the better effects of your two hockeys, conquerors and armament. I think observation is more like very high instinct to the point you can actually read the opponent's mind. Basic observation. As for future sight, this will need will as well. There are perks, but you can only be born with them. Skill are instantly mastered unless they are things like swordsmanship, martial arts, etc. If Luffy learns Gomu Gomu no pistol, that means he can do it perfectly from the first TRY. This only applies to special kills, higher mastery in the swordsmanship, etc. Means more damage from the skills. It's stats mastery plus skill damage. Basically, if Luffy eats any kind of devil fruit, as long as he makes skills, he would be strong ass, but he can't shoot them continuously. He needs Vit stat for that. Earning, healing, observing will not be skills. This will be normal things implemented by the system. Power rank: civilian marine, fodder, basic pirate, any other kind of marine rank below captain. Marine captain equals pirate captain, but not in all cases, it depends. Rear admiral, supernovas, vice admiral, admiral equals 1/3 Yonkou, fleet admiral equals 2/3 Yuku, Yonkou, pirate king. These ranks will be only displayed on enemies and friends. Luffy will have no rank. Just so you know, normal adult civilians have one of each stat. Luffy's stats, I know they may seem odd because he was just born, but whatever, he is basically as strong as an adult male from birth. Monkey D. Luffy. SCR 1. Augie 1. Vit 1. Int 1. Whis 1. Perks. But genes, you have it not coming from one of the strongest men on the earth coursing trophy. You can train faster. Will of D unlocks the will stat easier, doubles will stat gains, and the speed which you gain will stat. Great destiny. Even if you know it or not, you have a great destiny, so you will have a lot of chance encounters. Fruit eater comes from the system. You can eat 2 devil fruits and gain water resistance. That means you can swim even if you eat devil fruits, but beware, sea stone still drains you of 30% of stats. Fast learner, you have a good head on your shoulders. You can learn skills very fast. Sometimes you can invent skills on the fly or learn just by watching. Training, normal training, which means the usual sit-ups, push-ups, jogging, pull-ups, or weightlifting. This gives you stats. There is a cap on the training stats though, which can be broken with fighting. Fighting, depending on your opponent, you can gain stats by fighting, but beware, if you fight 2 weak opponents you won't gain anything. There is a cycle. Luffy needs to train and fight to become stronger. After the cap on stats break, you can train again, but you would either need longer training or harder training to get results. If you do the same training as before the cap, you won't gain results. Luffy has inventory. Depending on his strength, he gains more carry capacity and slots. Every slot can have 99 items. Only the first item is calculated in weight. The weight thing is so Luffy can't use the inventory to drag things he shouldn't be able to out of the way. As any other inventory, the thing Luffy stores remain fresh. Chapter 2. Bits of life from Monkey D. Luffy. Ever since I was born, I could see these windows over people's head. Most of the time they had question marks above them, and ranks such as civilian. Sometimes I would see marine fodder, but the highest rank I have ever saw would be from Grandpa. His was pirate king, weakened by age. That meant he was extremely strong. The system started to explain itself to Luffy as he grew up. Since the system worked like telepathy, Luffy learned about it very easy. By the time he was 4, he already knew everything there was to learn about the system. He even gained 1 stat for each of his stats by doing what the system suggested him to do. Right now, as a 4-year-old, he was twice as strong and intelligent compared to the average adult. Luffy's power and intelligence wouldn't go unnoticed by his grandpa Garp, so every time he saw him getting stronger he would laugh very hard and say out loud, "Luffy, you will make a great marine." Luffy knew what marines were, but he wasn't really sure he wanted to become one. But Luffy would say his doubt about becoming a marine. Garp would punch him on the head and say, "Brat, you will become a marine, even if you want to or not." This kind of behavior from Garp kind of left him wanting less and less to become a marine. The feeling intensified when he got tied to balloons and thrown into the air by his grandfather, saying that even tough he was strong, he still needed training. After that he got thrown into a pit fight with lions, thrown into a jungle, and even off a cliff. But those things didn't really make Luffy hate his grandfather, because even tough the training methods were rather unorthodox. They were showing great results to Luffy. Fighting and trying to survive in these situations made Luffy develop really fast. His stats were as following. Monkey D. Luffy. SCR 6. AG 5. Vit 9. Int 4. Wiz 7. He even learned a skill when he fought with the lions. Skills: martial arts LVL 3, self-learned martial arts skill consisting of kicking, punching and all other means of fighting using your whole body. STRX LVL max LVL 100. Ever since Luffy learned the skill, he trained with it every day, and when his grandfather came to visit for his training, he would be so surprised at his progress that he would put him through even harder training. In consequence, Luffy grew stronger and stronger year to year. Luffy was 7 years old now. He was pretty tiny at 140 meters. He was wearing a white shirt with the image of anchor, and blue shorts. He was standing on a stool in the party bar. The bar, which was actually the only bar in the Fuchsia village, the owner being a young slim girl with green hair and brown eyes named Makino. The bar was full of rowdy people who were either eating meat or drinking rum. Near him stood a man who wore a long black cape over his shoulders, and a straw hat and slightly loose brown trousers cut below the knee and collected halfway up the shin, with golden buttons down the outer leg. He wears a pair of sandals, and is unshaven with a short, scruffy beard. His hair is red. You could see Luffy looking angrily at him and shouting, "Shanks, I want to be a pirate. Please take me on your next adventure." Shanks grinned at Luffy and said, "No matter how strong you are, Luffy, I won't take you on my ship. You are still too young." Luffy huffed at his response and looked away angrily. Shanks smiled and told Makino, the bar owner, "Here, give Luffy a glass of juice." He passed her a few belly, which she accepted, and poured a glass of juice for Luffy. Luffy happily took the juice and started drinking it, but Shanks started laughing and said, "Pirates don't drink juice." Luffy spitted the juice and shouted with razor-sharp teeth, looking like a shark, "Shanks, you bastard, you tricked me." All the men in the bar started laughing. The bar's doors were kicked open by a bunch of mountain bandits. The leader is a tall, dark-skinned man with black hair, a black goatee, and an X-shaped scar above his right eye. He wore a long red coat over a white shirt, black trousers, and a golden necklace. He looked around the bar and said with a sneer on his face, "I'm a bunch of good-for-nothing pirates." He started walking towards the bar and told Makino, "My name is Aguma the Bear with a bounty of 800,000 belly on my head. Me and my men didn't come here to rob. Just give us 8 barrels of rum, and we will leave." Makino told them with a strange smile on her face. "Unfortunately, we are all out of rum right now." "I'm sorry." Higuma sneered and looked at Makino with a dangerous glint in his eyes. "So what are these low-life pirates drinking then? Water?" Makino shook her head and said, "They drank all of my rum." "Again, I'm sorry." Shanks looked at Higuma and offered him an open bottle of rum. "Sorry for drinking all of the rum. Here, have this bottle." Higuma sneered, took the bottle and shattered it over Shanks' head. Luffy looked angrily at the scene. Shanks was down with his hat covering his eyes, and said, "Oh Makino, I'm sorry, I'm at the floor wet. Give me a rag, and I will clean it up." Makino got a rag herself, and said, "It's no problem, Captain, I can clear it myself." Higuma sneered, and took his sword, slashing at all of the leftover food and glass cups on the bar counter, shattering them and throwing them down. "Here, if you like cleaning this much, clean all of this." He turned around with a sneer on his face and said, "What a bunch of trash pirates," and left the bar with his cronies. Luffy immediately exploded when the bandits left. "Why didn't you retaliate, Shanks? I thought you were a great pirate." Shanks looked at Luffy with a smile on his face. "It's no problem, Luffy, they just spilled a bit of booze on me. This is not a reason to fight." For Luffy looked away from Shanks, ashamed that he admired such a spineless coward. He observed the open chest on the bar counter that wasn't thrown away by the bandit Higuma, and took the fruit from inside. The fruit is a violet, spherical-shaped fruit with a stem sprouting out of the top, with swirls that go in a curly S-like pattern. Luffy didn't really care why the fruit looked funny, and ate it almost in one gulp angrily. Shanks grinned at Luffy and said, "It's not good to eat out of frustration, Luffy." "Hey, wait, what are you eating there?" Observing that the chest was empty and Luffy was swallowing the last bite of the fruit, Shanks immediately tried to get the fruit out of him by grabbing him by the ankles and shaking him up and down while yelling at him, "You dumbass, you ate the forbidden devil fruit, and now you can't swim anymore." Luffy's legs stretched, and he face planted on the floor. In front of his face appeared a screen which said, "Congratulations to host for eating his first devil fruit. The system will ensure that you have full control of your devil fruit, so you don't need to train to control it. Keep in mind that to unlock your skills, you will need to think about them yourself." Luffy looked blankly at the screen, and at the screaming Shanks in front of him, but he ignored Shanks screaming at him about not being able to swim. The system said he could swim, even if he ate these kind of devil fruits, so he didn't really care. Shanks looked at Luffy, and sighed. It seemed the brat really didn't care about it, so he started explaining to Luffy, "Luffy, the devil fruit you ate is called the Gomu Gomu no Mi. It basically makes you a rubber human, meaning now everything from your organs to bones and skin are rubber." Luffy nodded at Shanks' explanation, and from what he inquired from the system, he could make his own skills or something like that, so he needed to start training soon. After a while, Shanks and the others left, saying that they needed to go in another voyage. Luffy left the bar as well. He needed to train. Chapter 3. Power of a devil fruit and a little guy. I run towards the forest my grandfather occasionally throwed me in. I needed to see how strong this new devil fruit I got from Shanks is. From Shanks' explanation, I understood that I'm fully made of rubber now. Since I was made of rubber, I should be able to stretch all of my limbs. I tried to stretch my limb backwards and throw it forwards. It impacted a tree. When my fist reached the tree, it punched through it like a knife through hot butter, and I heard a beep in my head, and a window appeared in my face. Host has invented new attack. Please name the attack. I thinked about it a bit before selecting a simple name. I decided to go with Gomu Gomu no Pistol, because I felt that my fist was as fast as a bullet, and it penetrated the wood very easily. Host has invented the attack Gomu Gomu no Pistol, damage 200, can combine with martial arts. After the first try, Luffy created a lot of other attacks. These were the few which he would use regularly: Gomu Gomu no Rocket 100, Gomu Gomu no Bazooka 350, Gomu Gomu no Gatling 100 per hit, high stamina consumption, Gomu Gomu no Bullet 100, Gomu Gomu no Rifle 300, Gomu Gomu no Whip 250, Gomu Gomu no Spear 200, Gomu Gomu no Battle Axe 400, Gomu Gomu no Balloon, defensive technique damage reduction 20%. Those were the strongest and most useful techniques that he could use in all situations. The other he created were either useful in certain situations or not strong enough for him. Well, he created those techniques. His martial arts skill also leveled up quite a bit, reaching LVL 10. Martial arts, the knowledge on how to use your fist and kicks to damage your enemies. You are on your own way to create your style LVL 10. It seemed I could create my own martial arts style, based around my devil fruit. This should work. After I thought a while, I decided that I needed to use life combat to temper my techniques and gain more experience using the devil fruit. Even though the system gave him perfect control, he still didn't know everything about his devil fruit, so he needed to experience it. I easily found a horde of boars most of the time. It would take me quite a while to hunt down a horde, but now with my new devil fruit, I should be able to kill them easily. I brought both of my hands near me and started to punch in their direction at high speeds. Fist images started appearing around Luffy, and they started to become longer and longer till they reached the boars. When one of the fist images grazed one of the boars, it grew unconscious almost instantly, its eyes going in the back of his head, leaving only the whites. In a few seconds all the boars were down, but I started to breath heavily. It seems Gomu Gomu no Gatling took quite a lot of stamina, but with the system, I should be able to regain my stamina pretty fast. I looked at my updated status page and it read: Monkey D. Luffy. SCR 10. AG 9. Bit 12. Int 8. Was 10. Even though his grandfather didn't come very often, Luffy still kept up with the training and became stronger and stronger because of it. He also started to make battle plans on the fly when he met with wild animals. All the fighting and training also increased his stamina. The more he used it, the stronger he became. After he defeated those boars, even though he didn't gain any martial arts LVLs, he gained tons of meat. I skinned the boars and took their meat. Taking the snapped tree I destroyed earlier, I made an improvised bonfire and started roasting the meat. I was still in the middle of the forest, but I didn't really care. I could kill almost anything in this forest, and the stronger animals were in the center of the mountain, so I didn't need to worry about anything. The shrubberies moved and out of them came a little black-haired wolf. It had his left front paw injured. It seemed he was only a few months old pup. He was growling to me, wanting some of my roasted meat. I looked at it, and you could see stars practically appearing in my eyes if you looked at me. I ripped some meat from the bone and beckoned for him to come over. It came slowly, surely, being scared of the small human in front of him. Not knowing if it was trap, it neared me, and I threw some meat at him. The little thing, even though he was pretty small, he ate so fast you would think he didn't eat in days. It started to walk towards me and started rubbing against my leg. It even wagged his tail, and he let out a few cute growls that meant, "Please give me more." I chuckled at it, and gave him a bit more and started eating myself. Before I knew it, we both finished all of the boar meat. My stomach was expanded because I ate too much, but I didn't feel bad. The little wolf had his belly full, and he looked quite plump and cute right now. He actually started to lick my hand. I took him in my arms, and seeing he didn't protest, I took him with me to Makino's bar to see if she could help by cleaning up his paw. I arrived 30 minutes later at Makino's bar. When she saw me with the wolf pup in my arms, she ran to me and asked Luffy what happened to that wolf, and why are you holding it? I just told her my encounter with it, and she nodded at me. She took some antiseptic to clean the wound, and bandaged it with some bandages from her first aid kit. The wolf looked tired and started to sleep right on the bar counter. Makino turned towards me and asked, "Are you going to keep it, Luffy?" "Well, Makino, I don't see why not. He is really cute, and when he will grow up he will become strong as well. I will take him with me and become a pirate." Makino chuckled at my words. It seemed Shanks influenced me more than I thought, but I kind of liked the idea of piracy. Shanks explained, being free to do anything you want, to party, to adventure, to laze around, to fight whoever you want. I longed for that kind of freedom. It was practically in my soul. I decided to name the wolf, which Makino confirmed to me that he was a boy, Wolfie. I also decided that I would start to take him training with me. Since he would come with me to be a pirate, he needed to be strong. After a few months of training with Wolfie, Shanks and his crewmates were back. They were met with the sight of me and Wolfie kicking the asses of the mountain bandits that trash-talked and humiliated Shanks before. They came today to Makino's bar, and started to talk badly about Shanks and the others again, so I couldn't take it down without doing anything, so I bashed the leader's face in with a Gomu Gomu no pistol, bringing him down instantly. The training for a few months gave me more than few points in almost every stat, so I could easily beat all of the bandits. Wolfie also grew pretty strong when I trained him. He could actually, as a 4 months pup, beat adult men in a 1v1, but that would be more attributed to my training. But the curious thing was that he never backed down from my training. It seemed like he wanted to prove something. I could feel that from his gaze. He seemed pretty intelligent for a normal wolf. When Shanks saw the comic situation of a little kid with stretching arms and legs beating adults and the little wolf biting them, he roared with laughter. Ha ha ha, Luffy, it seems you really like making trouble, don't you? I smirked at him and said, I just took back the humiliation they put on you that day, also the words they said today about you. Shanks just shook his head. Kids were impulsive and tended to do whatever they felt like. He knew that Luffy was strong the moment his haki felt his aura, but the growth speed of him almost made him shocked inwardly. He was almost twice as strong as before he left. Shanks thought that Luffy would even give a Marine Master Chief Petty Officer a good fight, but the thing was Luffy was only 7 and a few months old, and this was pretty scary in Shanks' opinion. How strong would this little monster become when he grew up? After some arguing with Shanks and the introduction of his pet wolf to him, they started to party like never before. The reason was because Luffy did a manly thing to hold our reputation. I just thought they didn't have any reason to party and pinned it on me. After the party I followed them at the docks, where Shanks' ship was. He turned towards me and said, well Luffy, it seems this is the last you will see us. We won't return after this. Tears started to pull into my eyes, and I looked at Shanks and shouted, Shanks, I will recruit a better crew than you, sail more than you, and become the king of the pirates. Shanks smiled at me and put his hand on his straw hat and taught, is this your successor, Captain? Before taking it off his head and putting it on mine, my tears started to flow down like a cascade. Now Luffy, I will entrust you with my hat. It's very precious to me. Return it back to me when you become the Pirate King, will you? I throwed my hands at the sky and shouted at the top of my lungs, sure as hell I will. From today and onwards, Luffy's resolution to become the Pirate King cemented itself in him becoming his greatest drive. Chapter 4. Garp returns and meeting a new friend. It was 3 months since Shanks left. Me and Wolfie were getting stronger and stronger. Even though I couldn't see Wolfie's stats, I knew his were all above 6s for mine. Minky D Luffy. SCR 20. AG 18. Vit 20. Int 16. Wiz 17. Skills. Martial Arts LVL 20. You're starting to see where you will go with your style. Keep it up, and you will become a fighting master in the future. All the training with Wolfie paid off. Now I could move in the outer regions of Mount Kolobo, like I was the actual king of the mountain. I could even advance a bit to the heart of the jungle, but I still wasn't strong enough to defeat the kings of the jungle. It was a sunny day, when Garp came to his birth island to meet his grandson, and see how he was doing in training, but when he saw how Luffy was shouting around in the forest, that he would become the Pirate King, and that infernal straw hat on his head, he snapped. He applied a bit of Buzashku Haki armament haki, and hit Luffy over the head, not hard enough to make him unconscious, but hard enough to make him feel pain for hours. I put my hands on my head and felt multiple big bumps appearing on it, and shouted, Aj, how come I feel pain? I'm a rubber human. Garp looked at me more angrily than before. It seemed he wasn't pleased. I ate a devil fruit and said, you brat, you ate a devil fruit, and now you want to become a pirate too? Are you rebelling since such a young age? And what's with that wolf? I looked at my grandfather with determined eyes, and said, I won't be any kind of pirate, Gramps. I will become the king of the pirates, and this wolf here is my friend Wolfie. Garp hit Luffy on the head again and picked him up like a sack of potatoes, and picked a wolf from his scruff of his neck and said, it seems letting you live in the village with Makino made you meet that fellow. From now on you will live in the mountains. As Garp navigated his way around in the mountain, Wolfie was trembling from fear. As an animal he had strong instincts, and he felt how strong Garp was, but Luffy looked at Wolfie and gave him a reassuring smile, meaning that Garp wouldn't hurt him. After the little wolf saw Luffy's smile, he stopped shaking, and just waited for Garp to let them down. Garp finally arrived at a rundown shack and knocked on the door. A female-ish voice could be heard coming from inside. Who the hell is it? I'm gonna chop you into pieces when I catch you. The door was opened. The woman is a rather tall and overweight woman with long, orange, curly hair and a big, masculine face. She wears a white collar shirt, a pink beaded necklace, checkered trousers held up with a large belt, and heeled boots. She was smoking a cigarette, but when she saw Garp her cigarette dropped to the ground, and she started trembling. Oh, it's Mr. Garp. What makes you come here to our humble abode? Garp left Luffy down some time ago, and he and Wolfie were looking around, when suddenly he and the wolf were caught by a few men and dragged in the house. And he was being questioned. Who are you? I'm Luffy. Where are your parents? Don't have any. Do you have any family? Yeah, I have my grandpa. Who is your grandpa? My grandpa is Garp. When the bandits heard the name Garp, they all started trembling, and shoved Luffy and Wolfie outside the house. Garp was talking with the woman. Dating, I want you to take care of my grandson Luffy for me. When I'm not around, the woman looked towards Luffy and told Garp, another one, Garp. This alone is a handful. I don't need another little monster to take care of. Garp started smirking and told Dating, oh, so you want me to take you to Impel Down? Is it? For how many crimes you did, I don't know if I could shield you anymore. Dating started sweating and said with a fake strange smile on her face, haha, it was just a joke. We will sure take great care of him, Garp. While the adults were talking, Luffy and Wolfie saw another boy of Luffy's age, maybe a bit older. He resembled Luffy a bit, but he had freckles, and wore a red tank top and black short pants. He also had a bandage on his left cheek. He was staying cross-legged with a lead pipe on his legs. Garp observed that the two brothers were eyeing each other, but he didn't think that Ace would spit towards Luffy, but Luffy easily turned his head around and dodged the spit. Garp laughed and said, "Luffy, this is your older brother Ace, be sure to make good friends, okay?" and left. Luffy looked at Ace and said, "You are disgusting, we met just now, and you spit towards me." Ace sweat dropped at Luffy's remark and told Daiden, "I'm going to hunt, don't wait for me." Daiden nodded at Ace and looked towards Luffy and beckoned for him to come over. She said in a bandit kind of tone, "Even though your grandfather is a big shot, you will still have to do a lot of work around here. You will have to get food yourself, to clean our clothes, and scrub the floor." Luffy looked bored and started to clean his ear with his pinky and told Daiden, "Don't wanna." Daiden folded over comically and she wanted to chide Luffy, but before she could, he couldn't see him anymore, but she could hear a voice that said, "Ace, wait for me." It seemed Luffy was going to be a handful just like Ace. Ace was trying to shake down Luffy from his path, but he just couldn't. Even though Luffy couldn't really keep up with his speed, he couldn't shake him down either. But Luffy didn't really know the forest that well here, since he has only been in the outer region of it. So when Ace made a sharp turn, he lost him. "Oh damn, I lost Ace. Well, I'm going to hunt and come back to the shack. I will meet him later." After a few minutes of searching, I found 2 big tigers, which I killed kind of easily with the help of Wolfie. Even though the animals in the center of the mountain were a bit stronger, they still couldn't hurt Luffy. I made my way back dragging 2 tiger carcasses behind me to the shack. Wolfie was wagging his tail in the anticipation of the meal. I was also salivating at the thought of roasted tiger meat. I arrived at the shack and made a fire and started roasting the tiger meat. The smell of roasted meat permeated the area and entered the shack. The bandits inside started gulping their saliva and opened the door looking outside. Seeing that Luffy was roasting 2 whole tigers, they thought that they would be able to get some of them from him. But before they could touch the meat, they could hear Luffy saying, "You guys don't get anything, hunt your own meat." Even though the bandits wanted to take the meat, seeing that Luffy could kill 2 tigers with apparent ease, since there was no wound on his body, they decided to drop the thought. They would just get their ass kicked. Seeing how hungry the bandits were, Luffy felt bad for them, so he ripped half of the tiger and throwed them the meat, saying, "Looking at you made me sad." The bandits were really happy when they saw the meat, but before they could dig in, Daiden came and said, "You guys, where are your damn manners? You let the kid hunt for you, where is your manliness?" But her eyes remained on the roasted tiger meat. After a while of talking back and forth between the bandits and Daiden, they decided that they would split the meat up between them, and later, they would hunt and get Luffy back some meat. But Luffy didn't hear them because he was stuffing his face up with meat, Wolfie doing the same. After they ate, they decided that it was time for a good nap, so he and Wolfie entered the shack, walked to a sleeping mat and started snoring, a big snot bubble appearing at Luffy's nose. Wolfie made himself comfortable on Luffy's belly and started sleeping as well. Luffy's day was actually pretty good. Besides getting hit on the head by his grandfather, he met a new future friend and ate some good meat. It seemed the future was bright for a rubber straw-wetted protagonist. Chapter 5. Meeting and making friends. From that day onwards, I tried to track Ace down, but because I wasn't familiar enough with the forest, me and Wolfie would always get lost. But with time, I started to remember the forest like it was the back of my palm. I also trained some more and fought a lot more animals. My stats were Monkey D. Luffy, SCR 21, Agile 20, Hit 25, Int 19, Wiz 20. Wolfie also got stronger. I think if I would put his strength and stats, he would have 10 in each. For a normal wolf, he grew incredibly fast for some reason. After a few weeks of tracking and following Ace, I finally found him. He was with another boy. He had round eyes, a missing tooth, and short curly blonde hair. He wore a large black top hat with a pair of blue goggles wrapped around it, a blue jacket with the sleeves rolled up, a cravat, and a pair of light blue cyan shorts, held up by a belt with an elaborate flower design buckle. They were talking about something, so I strained my hearing a bit to hear them. "Ace, with this money we will surely be able to buy a big boat and become pirates." "Yes, Sabo, we still need a bit, but at the rate we are going we should be able to make it in a few years." I was really happy the two of them wanted to become pirates as well. I walked from the cover of the tree that I was leaning against and shouted at the two of them, "You guys want to become pirates too?" Both Sabo and Ace were shocked. They didn't sense me at all. Sabo looked at Ace and said, "Who is this guy, Ace? It seems he knows you." Ace scoffed at Sabo and said, "He lives with me and the bandits now, but I don't really care about him. Since he learned about our secret hideout, we need to kill him." Sabo nodded at Ace's words before he shouted, "Kill him." "Ace, we didn't kill anyone before." Ace gave Sabo a slap on the head and said, "I know, but what if he divulges our secret location? We must silence him." I looked at them with a confused look on my face, "But I won't tell anyone if it's important for you guys. I want to be friends." Both Ace and Sabo looked at each other strangely and took some rope from God knows where. I was tied to the tree, and Wolfie had a latch around his neck that was tied around the tree as well. We were both stuck here unless they came back and untied us. Even though I was pretty strong, I couldn't stop both of them at once. And I didn't want to hurt them either, so using my devil fruit was out of the question. After a while, a very large man with long whitish blue hair, narrow eyebrowless eyes, and a broad chest with an open red ruffle-edged vest. He had tattoos on his left bicep and wore an earring on each ear. He also wore a yellow sash with stripes around his waist and a belt over it. He wore regular pants and boots. He was seen carrying a large sword along with him. Came and asked me in a very gruff voice, "Hey you brat, do you know where the other two brats are?" I lied saying no and started whistling and looking somewhere else while sweating. The man's sweat dropped at me. How is he so bad at lying? He thought. After that he looked at me with a feral grin on his face and said, "If you don't tell me where those two brats are, I'll make you feel pain, you little squirt." I just continued lying, and the man picked me up, leaving Wolfie behind barking and growling at him. After a while Sabo and Ace returned with more berries, but when they saw that Luffy wasn't there they panicked, because on their way here, they saw some adults' shoe prints on the ground. That meant someone took Luffy away. They untied Wolfie from the tree, and started talking with each other who could have took him away. "Well, who did we last rob, Ace?" "It was just some small fry, but I think he said he was from Blue Jam crew." "Damn it, Ace, you angered Blue Jam now, and I think he captured Luffy thinking he was one of us. We must find him." Wolfie barked at them, indicating that he could follow Luffy's scent and lead the way. Sabo and Ace nodded at each other and told Wolfie, "Let's go, you wolf, show us the way." I was tied by the waist with both of my hands behind my back, and I was getting pummeled by the man's fists, but I didn't feel anything since I was made of rubber. There were a few of his cronies around. One of them walked up to him and said, "Mr. Porkamy, this kid is quite sturdy, should I go and take the iron knuckles?" After a while of punching me, Porkamy was out of breath, but when he heard about the iron knuckles, a light appeared in his eyes. "Go and take them here. I will make this brat spit out the location of these two, or I will just kill him." The crony left, and came back after a few minutes with two gloves made of metal with spikes on the knuckles. After resting for a few minutes, Porkamy put the gloves on his hands and started pummeling me. Even though it hurt me quite a bit, I still didn't cry out even once. Ace, Sabo and Wolfie destroyed a part of the wall, and entered the shack, shocking everyone including Porkamy. But before they could do anything, every crony met a lead pipe to the head, making all of them go to sleep instantly. Porkamy tried to stop them, but Ace kept him occupied while Sabo untied Luffy. After that, Ace, a particularly hard blow to Porkamy's arm, and ran away with Luffy, Sabo and Wolfie. All of us were now at the tree where I was tied with Wolfie. Ace looked at me angrily and berated me. "Why didn't you tell them? They could have killed you." I smiled at him and said, "If I told them, you wouldn't have been my friends anymore." Both Ace and Sabo were shocked at my words, but after the shock both of them sported big smiles on their faces and asked me, "So you want to become a pirate too, Luffy?" And I responded, I won't become any ordinary pirate, I will become the king of the pirates." All of us laughed and Wolfie howled. This was the beginning of a friendship and brotherhood which would last a lifetime. 70 Chapter 6. The Life of Three Brothers and a Wolf. After I made friends with Sabo and Ace, they would invite me all the time when they would go to steal. They also gave me a pipe and teach me how to use it. Like that, I unlocked a new part of the martial arts skill. Martial Arts LVL 25, Sub-Branch Unlocked, Pole Fighting. Martial artists are known for being fluid, and their mastery of multiple weapons. You can use any kind of weapon to increase your martial arts skill, but you firstly need to master martial arts before you can delve into swordsmanship or true pole fighting. My stats were also increasing more and more. It seems fighting every day without pause was good for something. Monkey D. Luffy. SCR 26. Aggle 24. Did 30. In 21. Wiz 25. Wolfie, Ace and Sabo were also getting stronger. We also sparred a lot. My life was pretty good, eating meat, fighting, stealing with Ace and Sabo, to get enough money to be able to buy a ship. I felt really good making friends in my age zone. It also helped we all had the same type of dream, becoming a pirate. Days come and go. It has been more than 6 months since we became friends. Me and Sabo were waiting for Ace, who said he had a surprise for us. After a bit of time, Ace came with a bottle of sake and a few cups in his hands. He had a large grin on his face and asked, "Do you guys know that if we exchange cups of sake we become brothers?" Ace poured a bit of sake for all of us. We clinked the cups against each other and downed it down. From now on we were brothers, despite the different blood flowing in our veins. When Garp came to visit and he heard all of us wanted to become pirates, he gave us a thorough beating, and his fists of love more than one time. We had bumps onto bumps on our heads. He also decided to train us to become good Marines, he said. The training was hellish, but it increased my stats accordingly. He even had us read about Marine strategies, code of conduct and stuff like that. So my stats were now, Monkey D. Luffy. SCR 29. Aggle 28. Did 33. In 25. Wiz 29. I also increased my martial arts skill to LVL 30. Garp didn't even let Wolfie rest during the training. He also gave him quite a few bumps, and said a marine pet needs to be strong, so he can protect his master well. In conclusion, we all became stronger from Garp's training, even though it hurt so much. It was worth it. After a while things became strange, because Sabo started to show up less and less. One day he stopped showing at all. Both me and Ace were worried, so we started to go around the Goa city and ask around about him, but we met with no progress. After a while we got a letter which told us everything we had to know. Sabo was actually a runaway noble, and his family took him back. Me and Ace were both angry because of this. From what it seemed like when Sabo was with us, he hated his own family. Why else would he leave the noble lavish living style and start going around saying he was an orphan? But we couldn't do actually anything about it. Sabo himself wrote the letter and said that it was okay, and that he decided to return to his family on his own accord, even though we both knew he didn't really think that we decided to respect his wishes. After Sabo disappeared, Porkami and Bluejam came to us with a deal. Bluejam was a rather tall man with short hair on the top of his head, that is fashioned in a striped manner, while the hair flowed down long and unkempt down his sides. It seemed half of his molars were missing in an alternating pattern, and he wore a traditional captain's jacket over a white shirt. He said that he would look into us beating his men and stealing for him if we did a job for him. Me and Ace agreed it was a good deal. We just had to move some boxes around the Great Terminal, the junkyard of the Goa Kingdom, even though it wasn't really a junkyard. It was more like a refuge for homeless people, but we didn't know what was in the boxes, so we only did what we had to do. But it was too late when we realized what we had done. The Great Terminal was in shambles, fully burning. Both us and Bluejam were also stuck, because his deal with the nobles failed. He was actually scammed by the nobles. We wanted to escape, but Bluejam didn't let us. He said that if he died he would take us with him. Me and Ace fought with him and Porkami, but we could only take down his cronies and Porkami. Bluejam was too strong for us, but fortunately Dayton came, and with her help we escaped. After we learned that the Great Terminal fate was determined by the nobles, we were pretty angry, but we still couldn't really do anything, so we decided to increase our training intensity, so we could become stronger and do something about it in the future. Sabo left his home and tried to sail, but unknowingly to him he offended a world noble, and his boat was shot down. This was what we heard when one of the bandits named Dogrima came to us and explained what he saw. We were both angry and sad. I was crying uncontrollably, and even Ace had a few tears in his eyes. We both looked at each other. Luffy, from now on, we won't stop training till our bodies will drop. Do you understand? Yes, Ace. And I decided that the age we will sail at will be 17. Do you understand, Luffy? Yes, Ace, I understand, but wouldn't that mean you will sail before me? Unfortunately, Luffy, I still want to become captain, but when we will meet in the future our crews will be allies. Okay, Ace. Training and more training. When Garp came and heard what happened, he was pretty sad as well. Even though Sabo wasn't his flesh and blood, he started to get attached to him. He also realized that he couldn't stop us from going on with our dreams. So to increase our survival he trained us personally in marine techniques. They were called the Rakishiki and they were categorized into Soru movement skill. The Soru allows the users to move at extremely high speeds in order to avoid attacks, as well as to attack at higher speeds and with greater power. Tenzagle. Tekai defense skill. The Tekai hardens the user's muscles to the level of iron in order to nullify damage taken from attacks. 5xvit. Shigen attack skill. The Shigen is a close quarter combat technique in which the user pushes their finger into a certain target at a very high speed, leaving a wound similar to a bullet wound. 3xstr. Renkyaku attack skill. The Renkyaku is a powerful projectile technique in which the users start by kicking at very high speeds and strength, sending out a sharp compressed air blade that can slice objects and greatly damage a human body. 4xstr. Life return recovery skill. Unlike the other skill, life return needs food to speed up the recovery of the body. It is also the easiest to learn. Increases health regeneration to 100% per minute, needs high intake of calories. Eppu, another movement skill. The Geppo allows the users to actually jump off the air itself, allowing them to stay in the air for much longer than usual. Makes user able to fly as long as you have stamina. Kami, dodging skill. The Kami makes the user's body extraordinarily flexible in order to avoid any attacks, float, and bending their body like a piece of paper. 3xagl. I learned them with ease with the help of the system, them being mastered the moment they were learned, but due to my small physique they drained my heavily. When Garp saw how fast I learned and mastered them, he was so surprised his jaw hit the floor. But when he saw me how exhausted I was after using all 6 of them in a row, he decided to give me extra stamina training, which helped me greatly. Time come and goes, and it's been 3 years since Ace left to become a pirate. Now it was my turn. My stats and skill also leveled up with all the training. Minky D. Luffy. A CR 120. Agle 123. Bit 150. Bit 100. Wis 120. Skills. Martial Arts LVL 100. You are a martial arts master. You can discern when to attack and when to defend. All of your skills do. STRX 100 plus skill damager modifier. Pole Arts LVL 30. You are a pole arts adept. Increases damage while using poles and increase techniques with poles by STRX 30 plus skill damager modifier. If you use martial arts with pole arts, you will gain X10 modifier. I was in a medium ship that could host more than a few people with the barrels full of food, and Wolfie was with me. He grew a lot bigger. He was 2 meters tall. When he stood on all fours, he also learned Rakushiki, but he could only use Shave and Geppu. His stats were also pretty high, 90 each. The villagers were cheering in the port for me. The mayor Whoop Slap looked angry, but I ignored him. He was always against pirates. The eel-like thing rose from the water. It was really damn big, but he didn't pose any threat to me. I let Wolfie deal with him. Wolfie jumped into the air and started flying at fast speeds. He appeared immediately near the eel's sting-like neck and bit it hard. Blood started flowing like a fountain. I grabbed the eel sea king and chopped him up with a knife that I decided to get with me for the journey. I did it so fast that the villagers only saw blurs. Now I had enough meat to last me and Wolfie for quite a while. Now I was leaving the boat was moving farther and farther away from Fushia village. It was time for adventure. Chapter 7. Meeting someone and beating a whale. The boat was aimlessly moving on the enormous ocean. In it we could see a T-male. He wears short, blue trousers with cuffs, sandals, and a sleeveless red vest. He also has a scar with 2 stitches underneath his left eye and short, messy black hair. There was also a big black wolf with him. They were Wolfie and Luffy, and earlier they just escaped from a perilous situation. While Luffy was sleeping, a whirlpool appeared in their path. If it wasn't for Wolfie's timely wake-up, they would have lost the boat and all of his rations of food. Both he and Wolfie could swim. See Chapter 1. If you forgot that he can still swim, but having no food and water at sea was pretty much suicide. Now they were wondering with no location in mind. Well, Luffy wasn't a really great navigator. He picked up something from Sabo while he was still alive. Sabo was actually the most intelligent from their trio. He was supposed to become Ace's second mate, but now it seemed like it wasn't meant to be. As Luffy was thinking, he could hear the sound of battle in the air. His hat was shadowing his eyes, so he lifted up a bit and looked forward. What he saw made him happy. There was a sailor ship and a pirate ship fighting. Finally some action for him. I started stretching a bit to heat my limbs up. Sitting on the boat for such a long time made them cramp up a bit. It was time for some fighting. I looked at Wolfie and told him, "Wolfie, there's no reason for you to come. They're weaklings. I just want to vent some steam." Wolfie growled and nodded his big fluffy head. I petted him and took into the air with Geppu. I landed on the pirate ship and I looked around. The ship was pretty horrendous. It was pink, with a swan-like head as its figurehead. When the pirates saw me coming from the sky, they were pretty scared. But pirates these days are really dumb people, so after their scare got away, they tried to attack me. I didn't even need to use 1% of my power on them. I just kicked them away with a gum-gum no whip, literally no effort on my part. Seems East Blue wouldn't bring me any challenges. In a corner, a pink-haired boy with glasses saw what happened. He was shaking like a leaf in the wind, but he gathered some courage and came to me and said, "Seer, ye do kidnapped by Thes Perdis. Kal Yau helped me." He was a pretty funny guy with all that stuttering. I just chuckled. I could help the guy, but am I gonna? Well, kid, I'm a pirate myself, so if you want me to, I could help you. The kid's eyes shone with fear. It seemed he was really scared of pirates, but he also seemed to have made his mind up. "Please, sir, I can't take this anymore. The captain of this ship, Alvida, is really evil pirate. If I didn't compel to all her orders, I would have been dead already. Please help me." I nodded at the kid and said, "Well, my name is Luffy, what's yours, kid?" "Coby is Coby, sir." "Could you tell me how Alvida looks?" "Alvida is a tall and very fat woman. She basically a land whale. You can't miss her, Luffy, sir." The ship creaked and shook like a cannonball hit it, and a high-pitched annoying voice was heard. "What did you say about me, Coby?" And she appeared. Alvida is a tall and very obese woman with long wavy black hair and freckles on her. Wore a white cowgirl hat with a large red plume, a red neckerchief, a pink plaid shirt, and a blue captain's coat over it with the arms in the sleeves. She wore rings on her fingers, and her long sharp fingernails had red polish. She had a purple sash with a flintlock pistol tucked in it and some jewels. She also wore graying pants and red shoes with gold buckles. I looked at her and said, "Well said, Coby. No one wouldn't be able to miss her, unless you were blind, but even blind people would hear her heavy breathing and the tremors that would come from her walking." Shishishi. Alvida's face was a scarlet red like a tomato. She shouted like she was mad. "What did you say? You little brat, I am going to kill you." She had an iron mace in her hands. As she made her way in like a train that was going off the railroads, she hit me on the head with it and started laughing. I just picked it up and punched her in the stomach, missing her shell-shocked face. She took flight and disappeared in the horizon like a shooting star. It seemed that I overestimated her strength and I punched her too hard. Oh well. Coby was awed by it. The indication was his jaw on the floor. If he didn't close it soon, flies would enter it. I didn't really care about the conflict of the ships, and since I already vented a bit of steam, I decided to pick Coby up and make my way onto my little boat. When I landed with Coby into the boat, Wolfie started barking, and his tongue stuck out. His tail was also wagging. He thought that I got him food. I just gave him a side glance and said, "He is not food. We will drop him on the next island." Coby looked petrified at the wolf, but he recovered after a while. Since there were 2 humans on the boat now, and I didn't really have anything to do till the next island, I decided to talk a bit with him. "So Coby, any dreams, hobbies?" "Mine's is to become the Pirate King." Coby started muttering, "Pirate King, that's impossible. You would need to get the whole world riches and traverse the whole Grand Line. Impossible, impossible." He kept muttering impossible till I hit on the head. He was getting really annoying. "It's not impossible. You are just too weak to see the big picture." "Luffy, do you think if I became strong enough, would I become a Marine Admiral?" I laughed at the question and answered truthfully, In the Marines, as long as you are strong enough and do a well enough job, you can become an admiral. As for you, you need hell a lot of training to become even a captain, at least more than a few years. But if you believe in yourself, no one can stop you from becoming what you want to be. Coby started to cry after he heard my speech. It seemed he really made up his mind on joining the Marines. I couldn't really care either. By the time he became Marine Admiral, I would have surely became Pirate King. I looked at the map that I took with me from Fuchsia. From the looks on it, the nearest island was Shellstown. I looked at Coby and yawned. You navigate to Shellstown, I will drop you there, I want to sleep. Coby paled a bit at the mention of Shellstown and said, but there Zoro, the pirate hunter, was recently sighted. He is known to be a bloodthirsty killer, and the best swordsman in East Blue. What if we run into him? My eyes glittered at Kobe's description. It seemed I found my first crewmate. Shushi, that's even better. At full speed to Shellstown. I will see if this Zoro guy is all that. If he is, I'm gonna recruit him. Now shut up and navigate. I'm going to sleep. I put my straw hat over my eyes, and I drifted to sleep. Wolfie was near me, staying guard like a good watchdog. Next destination was Shellstown. Chapter 8. Recruiting the Swordsman. As I was sleeping in the boat, I had a dream. It was about me and Wolfie sparring. Actually, it wasn't really a dream. It was more like a flashback because this happened in the past. This is how I gained the scar underneath my eye. Me and Wolfie were sparring in the forest. We were actually really in the middle, and we weren't paying attention when suddenly, a giant tiger appeared. He was one of the lords of Mountain Kolobo, along with a giant bear. He came too fast, and while I was in the middle of the spar with Wolfie, he struck with his paw at my head. Even though it was a sneak attack, I still dodged most of it. Unfortunately, his claws reached deep below my eye, leaving the scar there. After the sneak attack, I teamed up with Wolfie and killed him. When Grandpa Garp saw my scar, he laughed like it was no tomorrow and said, "You are following in your grandfather's footsteps, aren't you, Luffy?" I woke up at the nagging of Coby saying that we were almost at the island. I picked myself up and looked over. The island wasn't really outstanding. The only thing that stood out was the big marine building. It was painted deep blue and had a blue seagull on its white painted arch. It was so big that it could be seen from quite far away. I and Coby docked while I took out Wolfie for a walk around. When the island's inhabitants saw Wolfie, they started to jump around like their arse was on fire. I just chuckled and said, "He won't bite anyone unless I tell him to." This kind of reassured them, but they still looked jumpy. I turned towards Coby and asked, "So is Zoro really supposed to be on this island?" All the people jumped at the name. SSSH Luffy, Zoro is a scary name for the people here. I'm not really sure if he is here or if he left, but I know the marine captain of this base is called Axe Hand Morgan. At the mention of Morgan, the people were even more frightened than when they heard Zoro. I chuckled at their reaction, and Coby looked quite stunned, not understanding why people would be scared of a marine captain. In his mind, Coby thought that all marines were good people, who did everything they did for justice. I decided to spill a bit of truth to him. "Coby, let me tell you something. If the Marines are blue, and the pirates are red, there are also gray areas in the red and blue sections. That means that not all pirates are pillaging, torching down, killing kind of pirates. And not all Marines are down-to-earth Samaritans who would do everything for justice. Just so you know, in the future you might find some people like this in the Marines. I'm just warning you." Coby nodded dumbly at my words. It seemed they struck a chord in him. As I walked around with Coby, we reached the marine base. I decided to climb the wall and see if Zoro was out there. Fortunately, he really was there. It seemed the Marines didn't really care, and just tied him to a cross in the middle of the yard. Zoro is a muscular young man of average height with lightly tanned skin. He wears green hair maki over his right hip. He wears a white sleeveless shirt, black pants and boots, and a black bandana over his head. You could see the green hair tufts, if you would look close enough. Before I could do anything, a ladder appeared near me, and a little girl with brown eyes and hair done in double ponytail climbed up on it and motioned with her finger for me to be quiet. She approached Zoro and unfurled some paper. In it were 2 rice bowls. "Zoro, I got you some food, please eat. They let you here too much without any food and water. You will die. Get the hell out of here, you brat. I don't need your food." Before the two of them could continue their quarrel, a high-pitched voice could be heard saying, "Aha, Zoro, bullying little kids, now are you? Anyways, little girl, didn't you read what my father posted on the walls near the entrance? Anyone who helps a prisoner will be dealt like a prisoner and executed. Also, those rice bowls look quite good. Let me have some." Without waiting for approval, the person took the rice bowl out of her hands and ate it in one big gulp. But he started spitting, took the other one and throwed it on the ground and kicked it till it became a mud bowl, and sat with a disgusted look on his face. "Those are sweet. Rice bowls are made with salt. How dumb are you?" The little girl was almost crying and said, "I thought they would be better sweet, so I put some sugar into them." "Baba, you don't know how to cook at all." Men throw her out. Flanking him were 2 marine cronies wearing the marine uniform. Both of them looked troubled. They didn't want to throw the little girl out. She was only a little girl, and what they would do would be a little too cruel. But the guy didn't want to hear anything of what they would say. "If you don't throw her out, I'll tell daddy on you." Those words triggered some changes in the marines' faces. They picked the girl up and whispered to her, "Tuck yourself into a ball, it will make the landing less painful." and throw her over the walls. Fortunately I was there and I could catch her, so she wasn't injured at all. I told Coby to follow her and keep her safe, leaving Wolfie with them as well. I jumped up into the yard and walked towards Zoro slowly. From his eyes I could detect bloodlust and some exhaustion. It seemed not eating and drinking took quite a toll on him. He looked at me and asked, "What do you want, kid?" To be honest, I wanted to invite you into my crew and see if the rumors were all that. And looking at you, I could say the rumors were true. So here's the banger. Do you want to join my pirate crew and sail with me? I won't become a criminal just for you alone. I have a dream myself, and it doesn't involve becoming a pirate. I can respect that, but finding strong people in the East Blue is kind of hard, so I'm kind of hellbent on recruiting you right now. You will join me sooner or later, even if you don't want it or not. Damn brat, think you can manipulate me? I just chuckled and started walking away. I already had a plan to make him join, but I stopped when I heard his voice behind me. Could you give me that rice bowl? It's more like a mud bowl right now. Are you sure you want to eat it? Just give it over. I threw the RICEBALL, mud bowl, into his mouth, and he chewed it slowly, grimacing, but finished it and told me, "Tell the little girl that it was delicious." This Zoro guy was stubborn, but now with this personality he presented he made me wanting him in my crew even more than before. I arrived at the restaurant owned by the girl's mother, and I told her what Zoro said, and asked her what happened to him, to put him into that situation. Well, Zoro saved me by killing the rabbit wolf Padavomeppo, the blonde guy in the purple suit, because his father is the captain here. He is totally lawless, and does whatever he wants. When Zoro killed his wolf, he said that if he survived 30 days without any food and water he would lift all charges against him, and if he didn't he would kill me and my mother. At the mention of herself and her mother being killed, some tears started to pour out of the little girl's eyes. She found everything done by Homeppo extremely unfair. I comforted her a bit and continued eating. Wolfie was there too. He had a bowl of meat for himself. Speaking of wolves, Homeppo came in with his 2 marine lackeys and started laughing. Hahaha, that fool Rano, he thought that he would be released if he will survive 30 days. I'm already bored of him. I'll execute him tomorrow. Be ready for a show. The things I hated the most were people who wouldn't keep their promises, so when I heard that he would execute Zoro tomorrow I got up from my table. I walked slowly towards him and punched him into the face so hard he got off the restaurant's door and hit the wall of the nearest house unconscious. I looked towards Coby and said, "Coby, let's go. I will recruit Zoro into the crew right now." Me, Coby and Wolfie ran to the marine base. I left Coby and Wolfie behind the walls and approached Zoro again. He scowled at me and said, "What do you want, Straw Hat Kid?" I already said no. "I have some information for you and it isn't pretty." Here a frown appeared on Zoro's face and he asked, "What is it?" "Homeppo never intended to let you leave. After 30 days, he will execute you tomorrow, or maybe even today. If you want to survive, I can help you, but not for free." "The damn devil, that's blackmail." "What if it's blackmail? I'm a pirate, I play dirty." "Okay, I will join you, but with one condition. If you will ever stay in the way of my dream, you will find your end at the edge of my sword." "So what's your dream?" "I want to become the world's best swordsman." "Naturally the world's best swordsman should be on the Pirates King crew." Shishi. Pirate King, huh? A notification screen appeared after I took Zoro in my crew. Notification: host has unlocked the crew function. Host can see crewmate stats. Your crewmates improve stats faster. This applies to yourself as well. The more or stronger crewmates, the faster the training. I used a small Rinkaku and I sliced all of the rope that confined him on the wood cross and asked him, "I heard you are a swordsman, but where are your swords, Zoro?" "That blonde bastard took them. They should be in the marine base." "Well then let's go and take him." We made our way inside, but we didn't really knew which room was his, so we searched every room, making the Marines know of our location, but we dealt swiftly with them, making them not able to ring the alarm. After a while we found a pink room in which we got Zoro's swords back. Thinking that we finished here, we left the base, but we met with the Captain Axe Hand Morgan in the yard. Morgan is a very tall and muscular, intimidating man with blonde hair and a steel jaw. As his epithet suggests, his right hand is replaced by a huge steel axe, the handle of which seems to go right through his forearm. When he saw me and Zoro, he immediately ordered the marine cronies to shoot at us, but Zoro deflected the bullets with ease. Even starved and weak, he was still way stronger than the marines. The following fight was really anticlimactic. Morgan got down like a sack of potatoes after one Gomu Gomu no pistol. It wasn't even interesting. The marines actually cheered when he was beaten. The guy really wasn't liked by anyone. And thanks for defeating him, Ririka's mother gave us free food. Me, Wolfie and Zoro were eating at a relatively moderate pace when a marine came in and asked, "Are you two guys pirates?" "Yes, we are. I'm grateful that you helped us, but as Marines we can't let you stay on the island. We're already doing you a favor by not reporting to HQ." I picked myself up from the table and indicated to both Zoro and Wolfie to come. Coby was in the restaurant, but I told him to not stay with us. It will make him less conspicuous, and when he asks to be enrolled in the Marines there will not be many questionings. Speaking of Coby, we could see him walking towards the marine, and he said in a stable tone, without any stutterings or anything, Mr. Marine, the behavior of Captain Morgan made me feel that there are corrupt Marines out there, and I as a fellow citizen, I can't tolerate that. I want to join the Marines and wash away the sins of corrupted Marines. It seemed my explanation of pirates and Marines made his dream evolve a bit. I chuckled again, and put my straw hat over my eyes. Things were done on this island. Me, Zoro and Wolfie, we were on the boat ready to sail. We also got some more food and water, as thanks from Ryurga's water as supplies for our journey. When we were sailing a bit away from the island, we could see a long row of Marines saluting us. Zoro gave me a toothy grin and said, "Marines saluting pirates, this is a thing you won't see every day, nah." Captain, I just laughed. It was time for me to check Zoro's stats, and I was pleasantly surprised by them. Only his intelligence was fairly low, but I didn't need Zoro for his intelligence anyway. Urano Zoro. A CR 50. AGL 40. Bit 60. In 10. Was 38. His stats were pretty good. He could even beat captains of East Blue in favorable situations. I made a good decision by recruiting him. My stats didn't improve at all since I only fought weaklings. Minky D. Luffy. A CR 120. AGL 123. Bit 150. Int 100. Was 120. Nor did my skills increase. It seemed I need to wait till I reach the Grand Line to get some stats increases in. Anyways, for the time being I will just sail to the next town on the map, which was Orange Town. I decided to make this my destination, because frankly I didn't really know where to go. My navigation skills were basic at best. Maybe I could find a navigator in Orange Town, who knows. Chapter 9. Recruiting Navigator, Beating Clown. I, Zoro and Wolfie were relaxing while the boat was moving leisurely towards the destination which I set, Orange Town. Even though I didn't have great navigation skills, they were good enough for the East Blue. While we were relaxing, I and Zoro were chatting a bit. "So Zoro, how's your three-sword style? If you don't mind, let's spar when we get to the island." "Sure Captain, I will show you my strength." I laughed a bit at him. I just wanted to actually test his strength. He was by far no match for me, but I wouldn't tell him that. It would break his concentration, and maybe even make him angry. I will just show him my strength to make him understand. Wolfie was lying down with his head on his paws sleeping, when suddenly he looked upwards and he saw a bird. Wolfie wasn't that hungry, but birds were one of his favorite foods, along with boars, so he used Geppu and started to run after it. When Zoro saw the flying wolf, he freaked out a bit. But I just told him it's a technique everyone can learn, if they have strong enough legs, and that made him quite interested. But I didn't have time to teach him, so I started to paddle really fast to keep up with Wolfie. We also got 3 stranglers that got conned. They had gotten their ship and treasures stolen by an orange-haired woman. They also said she predicted the weather. That meant she was a great navigator. If there weren't any conflict of interest, I could recruit her. My navigation skills really weren't good for the Grand Line. The 3 guys also told me they are from Boogie's crew, but I could care less about that. Boogie was a friend and crewmate of Shanks when they were little, but considering he remained in East Blue after being on Roger's ship, it just showed how weak he was. After a while of paddling, we reached Orange Town, and as expected it had partially destroyed buildings, and everything was a mess. It was also a ghost town. No one was in sight. Things like pirates could do this to civilian towns. Me and Zoro were walking randomly, when we encountered the orange-haired girl petting Wolfie. He was surrounded by 3 unconscious boogie pirates. She was scratching his ears and muttering "good boy" under her breath. Wolfie was wagging his tail and his tongue sticked out. I coughed a bit in motion for the now-aware Wolfie to come over. The orange-haired lady looked towards me and asked, "Is he yours?" Obviously, why would you think he came towards me when I motioned him to? Hahaha, my name is Nami. I'm a thief who steals from pirates. Since you can tame such a strong wolf, you must be strong yourself. Do you want to team up? Unfortunately, Miss Nami, our interests conflict each other since me and my pal here are pirates, Wolfie as well. A pained look appeared on Nami's face at the mention of them being pirates, but disappeared as fast as it appeared. She was pretty desperate right now, and they looked like decent enough people, so she could team up with them, even though she hated pirates till her marrow and bone. She made up her mind and said, "We could team up temporarily. I'm a great navigator, and I could be of help to you. Unless you will help me in the Grand Line, there's no need of your services. I can navigate the East Blue decently enough." Nami started gritting her teeth. She couldn't leave for the Grand Line till she paid her debt. Arlong became more and more violent these days. He started destroying villages for fun, and he didn't care anymore if they paid or not. If she could pay the money, his promise would leave her village safe. "I promise that I can help you into the Grand Line, but there are some conditions. When I need your help with something, until I finish the thing I need to in East Blue, I won't leave for the Grand Line. 2. All the treasures we gain when in your crew for now will be mine." I nodded at her conditions. Everyone had his own troubles to deal with, and hers it seemed it was concerned with money. As I looked more closely at her, she was actually pretty beautiful. She wore an orange miniskirt with 2 white rings on each side, filled in with orange or brown in their centers, and shirts with short sleeves. She also had short hair with a particularly curled strand over the left side of her face. She is slim and has big brown eyes. In addition to being a good navigator, a beautiful female was needed in my crew. I couldn't be surrounded by males all the time. I also needed to observe the beautifuls of the female form once in a while. So I agreed to her conditions, but there was no notification saying I added her to my crew. That meant she wasn't 100% in my crew. But as long as she kept her promise, I really didn't care. After her conditions being agreed, Nami was very happy with the help of these two strong guys, and a wolf she could get the money needed very fast. But before she could congratulate herself, some tremors started to shake the earth. It was a giant yellow lion with a pinkish-purplish mane. On the lion there was a male who wore a white bear hat. He also wore blue pants and sandals. He looked at his lion and said, "Well, Richie, Captain Buggy is really angry, but since you are hungry, we will just destroy that pet shop over there and get the food." There was a pet shop nearby that was guarded by a small white dog. When the dog saw that the lion was approaching his store, he started barking and showing his teeth. Suddenly, an old man with curled hair wearing a wooden armor and having a wooden spear in his hand appeared. He looked towards the lion and man, and said, "You can't destroy the store, that's Chaochu's treasure." "Though you see now, old man, how can this shitty store be a treasure?" "The mayor bottle, the mayor of this town that you destroy." "Ah, so you are the old mayor, whatever, move out of the way or I will just let Richie kill you." The mayor didn't move out of the way. He was standing there like a statue trying to protect Chaochu the dog in the store. I started laughing and said, "Shishi, I like your guts, old man, let me lend you a hand." I appeared near the lion with sword and punched him with a normal punch, knocking it out with ease. I also knocked out the strange man on the lion, just with a small punch on his head. These weaklings didn't even have the power to resist at all. The mayor looked at me with wide eyes, his glasses which were almost falling over. He didn't think that I could beat those people at all. By my appearance I was just a skinny young lad, but my power was something else. After I saved him, he started to tell us the story of how Chaochu's store was a treasure to him. Actually, the owner of the store died due to an illness. He was Chaochu's best friend, so to protect the last reminder of his friend, Chaochu stood guard to this store for a long time. He never actually left. The townspeople would come from time to time to give him food or water, but he never left the premises of the store. Nami was kinda shaken after the story, but she kept herself up in no time. Both Zoro and the mayor couldn't see anything from her, but I could. It seems she didn't have a good past, and the dog's story kind of inspired her. After we heard the story, Nami and Zoro decided to take Buggy out of the town. Nami more because she wanted his treasures. We arrived at the bar that the Buggy pirates took over. They were partying inside, so I took some air in my lungs and shouted, "Come on out, Big Nose, I have some things that I have to talk with you." The angry shout was heard from inside of the bar. "Who has a big nose, Yao?" And he appeared in all his splendor. Buggy the clown. Buggy is a slim yet muscular blue-haired man with an appearance resembling that of a clown. As to mirror his epithet, Buggy's face is always covered with makeup. Just like a clown, he has crossbones going down his face forming an X. He also had two blue lines near both of his eyes, red lipstick and his Jolly Roger on his hat. He dons a striped white and red shirt with short sleeves, white gloves reminiscent of the ones worn by clowns, a sash around his waist like many other pirates, and a pair of loose pants reaching to his calves, just above a pair of striped socks and pointy shoes. He also has a scarf around his neck. Hanging from his shoulders there is an orange fur-lined captain's coat. On his head he has an orange hat with his Jolly Roger on it, over a neckerchief with the same pattern of his shirt. His face was red as his nose. His anger could be seen for all. Alongside him came his right-hand man. Kobachi is a tall, slender man with a unique hairstyle that covers half of his face. He is seen wearing a large blue and white checkered scarf that covers the lower portion of his face. A sleeveless brown coat reaching down to his knees, white pants larger near the end, and held up by a light blue sash, and white shoes. He looked at us with a glare on his face. After his anger subsides, Buggy looked at me, Zoro and Wolfie strongly, not knowing who we were, but after seeing Zoro's 3 swords he recognized him. "Oh, so you are Rama, Zoro. Did you come after my head?" "Not particularly, I'm not a pirate hunter anymore." "Haha, even if you didn't come for my head, if I will kill you I will boost my reputation." But before Buggy could do anything he was slashed into 2 by Zoro. What a weakling, and he was supposed to be a captain. Zoro didn't actually see that. When he slashed Buggy into 2 there was actually no blood. Fortunately for him I stopped Buggy's sneak attack by grabbing his detached hand. When Zoro looked backwards and saw the detached hand meters away from his back, cold sweat appeared on his countenance. He almost got injured seriously because he let his guard down. I stomped on Buggy's hand and told Zoro. Zoro just beat up his lackeys and the guy near him. "Leave him to me, he is the worst kind of opponent for swordsmen." Zoro nodded at my words and started to attack Kobachi. Back with me I started to fight Buggy, but it wasn't really considered a fight. I was way superior to him. I was either dodging or mocking him. When he saw the straw hat on my head he started to curse. "That damn straw hat makes me remember about that damn Shanks. If it wasn't for him I wouldn't have eat that damn devil fruit." I just laughed at him, and responded with a snarky grin. "You got this right, it is actually Shanks' hat, he gave it to me. But anyways, you are kind of boring for a clown, so I will just make you fly." I outstretched both my hands preparing for my Gomu Gomu no Bazooka. Buggy was too slow for me, so he couldn't do anything about it. My technique hit Boogie square in the chest, and sent him flying, making a shooting star appear on the horizon. Zoro was also finishing Kabaji with his trademark technique, Onigiri, Demon Hunt, making Kabaji have 2 long sword scars on his chest. After we finished them both, Nami appeared with 2 bulging sacks full of jewelry and gold. When she looked around and saw that Boogie disappeared and Kabaji was unconscious and bleeding, some light appeared in her eyes, and she thought, these 2 guys are very strong, maybe they could beat Arlong. But she kept that only for herself, not telling the 2 anything. Wolfie was inside the bar beating the tar out of the weak underlings with his paws. They were like balls in front of him, but when he heard Luffy's voice he immediately got out and followed him, starting to wag his tail. Luffy scratched his ears and told him he did a good job. He helped Nami with the gold, and they put both sacks into her boat. They unfurled the boat's sails and left, but before they could start relaxing, they saw a bunch of civilians saying thank you on the port. It seemed they realized we were the ones who defeated Boogie. Nami looked at a map and at our boat and said, if you want to cross the Grand Line you will need a bigger ship than that. I know, Nami, I was actually thinking to get a ship from the next island, maybe we will be lucky there. Well, the next major island is called Gecko Island, but there are a few islands in between. We could resupply at those and try to our luck at Gecko. Sounds pretty good, you can set sail towards the islands then. While Nami was navigating, Zoro was pretty bored. He actually wanted to spar with his captain, but due to the situation at hand they couldn't. Maybe he will try on the next island. Chapter 10, A Liar and an Evil Cat. Zoro and company were sailing towards Gecko Island. On our way we also found a strange island with a guy in a treasure box and hybrid animals. It all started when Wolfie tried to eat one of the hybrid animals, and it ended with the guy giving us fruits as supplies. We became friends. Nami was outside her cabin looking towards the ocean. She was contemplating whether to ask for help from Luffy or not. At most she had 2 more times to get the money, before Arlong flipped out and started to kill people in her village. She didn't know why Arlong became crueler and crueler with time. Even money didn't satisfy him anymore. He just wanted to kill to destroy, but it was strange, only he wanted to do those things. His crewmates didn't particularly enjoy it. Now when she thinked about it more clearly, only Arlong changed. The island was starting to appear on the horizon, so I shouted, "Land ho!" waking up both Zoro and Wolfie. Zoro looked particularly grumpy that he got waked up, but he didn't say anything. Wolfie was actually pretty angry, and he started to munch on my arm. I didn't really feel anything, because he only did it playfully. He wasn't extremely angry, just angry. We left the boats and we were on the beach right now, when we suddenly heard a voice. This island has the protection of me. If you don't leave, my 10,000 men army will attack you. To emphasize the effect of the statement, a lot of pirate flags started popping up. Nami just chuckled and pointed out, "Those 3 are your 10,000 strong army." The 3 kids that were hiding in the bushes yelped and said that they were found out, so they ran away. Up on the beach's cliff a young man appeared with a pachinko in his hand. He is a slim tan-skinned teenager with medium-length black woolly hair, prominent lips and a long nose. He wears brown overalls with a white sash, and no shirt underneath. He also carries with him a yellow satchel. His legs were trembling due to fear. He aimed his pachinko at me and said, "I will shoot, so don't take one more step forward." My strawhat shadowed my eyes and I said, "Weapons are for actions, not intimidations, so be sure you put your life on the line when you point your weapon at someone." Yusuf fell on his butt after my statement. Cold sweat permeated his face. He muttered under his breath, "So that's how real pirates are." I laughed and looked at him more clearly. "You are Yusuf, right? Your father is Yasip." Yusuf immediately scrambled down the cliff and appeared in front of me. "You know my father?" "Yeah, I do, but let's not talk here. Me and my friends are also pretty hungry. Just point us at a nearby restaurant, and we will talk there." So Yusuf did just that. While I explained how Yasip was the sniper on red-haired Shank's ship, Yusuf was having literal stars in his eyes. He couldn't believe that his father was an important officer in a young crew. After a while he excused himself, saying that he had to do something. While me, Zoro, Nami and Wolfie, we were finishing our meals. Wolfie especially ate a lot of meat, and his belly was kind of bloated. When the 3 kids came in the restaurant asking for their captain saw him, they looked petrified, even more so when Zoro said with a feral grin on his face, "Well, we just fed him to our pet wolf here. He enjoyed him down to the last scraps and bones." The children shouted frightfully and pointed at Nami, and said which. Nami gave each of them a bump on the head and said angrily, "It's just a joke, but if the wolf ate him, how am I the witch?" After we explained what happened, we asked them where Yusuf could have gone. "Kid, well, I think he has gone to the big mansion to tell lies." Nami telling lies, isn't that a bad thing? Kid, not really, because the young miss of the mansion is really sick and lies of our captain makes her happy. Nami, oh, so it was like that. Luffy, anyways, we should visit that mansion anyways. Maybe they have a spare ship we could buy. Zoro, like Captain said. Wolfie, ow. Since everyone was in agreement, we let the kids open the path for us. We arrived quickly at the mansion and we entered Trofa's secret passage that Yusuf made. I didn't want to make a ruckus by using my powers, so I just followed the kids. Yusuf was standing on rather thick tree branch, and he was talking to a blonde girl. She was pretty pale looking, maybe due to her staying too much inside and never going out. When Yusuf and the girl saw, she asked him, Bro, who are these people, Usopp? Usopp, well, Kaya, they are my admirers, they are here to join my Usopp pirate crew. Nami, you wish. Zoro, he's lying. Luffy, actually we are here to inquire if you have a ship for sale, we are in need of one. But before we could continue our talk, a guy wearing a butler uniform, he was wearing glasses and had black hair, he was also pretty pale, came out of the mansion and said, "What are you people doing here? This is private property." And you, Usopp the liar, stop bugging Miss Kaya, she doesn't need you here. Kaya, Kurahedel, please stop, they didn't do anything. Kurahedel, Miss Kaya, you having visitors doesn't help your health at all, I will chase them away now, and please stop interacting with that brute Usopp, he is just after your money. Kaya, Usopp is not like that. Kurahedel, pardon me miss, but his father is a bastard pirate who just knocked up his mother and left, he is not even worthy of your time. Before they could continue, Usopp rushed to Kurahedel with bloodshot eyes, and punched him in the face. Usopp, stop insulting my father, I'm proud of being a pirate's son, a warrior of the sea sun. Kurahedel, HMPH ruffian indeed, you can't even control your emotions and resort to violence over the smallest grievances, leave now. Usopp, I will just do that. Usopp left in a hurry, and since he left we left as well. While we were waiting for him to get back, Zoro pointed out that he really wanted that spar, so I indulged his request. Me and Zoro, we were facing each other in a wide field in the outskirts of the village. Luffy, Nami and the kids were spectating. Luffy, Zoro, just so you know, I won't use my full power because this will end too fast, but I will use my full skill. Zoro, HMPH, I know you are strong, but I doubt you are way stronger than me. Zoro wasn't really convinced, but I had to wake him up, I needed to strengthen him up for the Grand Line. When Zoro came at me with the overhead slash, I dodged simply by moving to the left. When he tried to slash me with the frontal one, I dodged by simply moving to the right. He tried to slash me again and again, but he couldn't do anything. There were a lot of occasions where I could have countered. I was a martial arts master, but this spar was for him to learn that he was a frog at the bottom of the well, not to hurt him. After a while of dodging, I just grabbed both of his swords out his hand and threw them away. His swordsmanship wasn't that great. If I would put it in system levels, I would give him LVL 20. I guess he beat the East Blue weaklings, based more on his high stats rather than skills. Zoro was baffled. His captain was really damn strong, and that wasn't his full strength either. He could have hit him and put him to sleep a lot of times, but he just dodged. This was further exemplified when he just took his swords and thrown them away like it was nothing. Luffy, Zoro, from now on, when we get the ship, we will have a daily spar. We need you to get stronger for the Grand Line. Zoro, I understand, Captain. Usopp was coming from the village. He was battered, bruised, and he had gunshot wound on his left shoulder. When he saw us, he rapidly came over and said, "Usopp, guys, Kurahedel is actually a pirate. I saw him speaking with a strange guy on the southern slope. He said he wanted to hypnotize Kaya and take her inheritance." Luffy, I understand, but why are you so banged up, Usopp? Usopp, well, I tried to warn the villagers, but they beat me up. Nami, well, that happens when you lie too much, Usopp. After Nami helped Usopp nurse his wounds, he looked towards us and he said, "Usopp, well, for now I will try to protect the village. It would be better if you guys left, to not be caught in the crossfire." He wasn't really that inspirable with his shaking legs, but I just started laughing and I told him, "Luffy, Usopp, we are friends, I will help you protect your village." Usopp, that's great, what are you guys good at? Luffy, well, I'm good at many things, but the first would be kicking ass. Nami, stealing. Zoro, cutting. Luffy, ow, biting. Usopp, hiding. All in course, no you won't, ow. We decided that we would put the traps that Usopp made on the northern slope, something about that they would come from here, because it had better ship parking. I also had Nami to hide our boats. And so they came with a big black cat ship. Most of them were cronies, weaklings. I could feel that from just looking at them. The only one relatively stronger was the weirdo with hard glasses and a cowboy hat, but he was still pretty much fodder. They tried to climb up the oiled slope that Usopp made, but unfortunately for them they weren't strong enough to do that. With the combination of Usopp's lead stars coming from his pachinko and Zoro's swords, I didn't even have to do anything before almost all of them were down. The hard glasses guy was panicking, and he started swinging around chakram. When I say 1-2 Django, all of your wounds will heal and you will become super strong. 1-2 Django. Almost all of them got up, their muscles bulging. One of them even punched a cliff and destroyed it, but for me it was still nothing. For the ones that Usopp and Zoro couldn't handle, I would just casually punch their lights out. After 20 minutes Kuro came, and boy was he angry. You could see it on his face how angry he was. "Kuro, you're damn trash. You got beaten up by a bunch of brats. Why are you living anymore?" "Django, Captain Kuro, please don't kill us, please. These bunch of kids are truly abnormally strong." "Kuro, HMPH Django, I left you to become captain because I thought you would do a good job, but it seems I was wrong." Kuro dropped down the bag he got with him and pulled up from it some menacing cat-looking gloves with claws on them. Django tried to remedy the situation by calling 2 people out of the ship. One was fat, other one was scrawny. Since Kuro was already out, they didn't go with their occasional lying and acting. They directly attacked Zoro with their strongest. "Luffy, Zoro, just keep them occupied, while I will beat Mr. Black Cat here himself." Kuro, a brat like you, think you can beat me, huh? But before we could start our fight, Kaya appeared. She had a gun in her hand which she was pointing to Kuro. Kaya, I can't believe it. Kurahadal, Mary told me what happened. How could you actually do it? Kuro, oh, so that fool didn't die. I think I became rusty with time. Kuro put on a smiling face to Kaya and he started saying, Kuro, do you remember when we were going shopping around? When I was helping you out with your studying? Kaya was starting to break remembering those times with Kuro, but after that a malevolent smile appeared on his face. Kuro, well, I hated all those times, and now I will take your inheritance. He upped right in front of her, and took the gun out of her hands, but before he could catch her, I appeared in front of him, and punched him hard, making him roll into the other cliff. But he stopped himself, leaving a trench in the ground. Kuro, Django, catch Kaya and hypnotize her. But before Django could do anything, a wood staff appeared above his cranium and cracked him in, putting him to sweet sleep. Nami appeared and she said with a grumbling tone, almost no treasure on this guy's ship, what poor fellows. Yusuf's sweat dropped at her remark. Yusuf approached Kaya and took her more than a bit away from the battlefield. Zoro also finished the fat and skinny guys. All that remained was me and Kuro. Kuro, ho ho, you really did in my career, didn't you? But I still have a card up my sleeve. He started swinging from right to left and he disappeared. Well, for others but not for me. I was actually pretty surprised he knew a variation of Zoro. It was actually way weaker than the original, and he also couldn't control himself, example being the claw mark on the cliff. But I just used Zoro myself and appeared in front of him. I also stretched my arm and twisted it behind me. It appeared in front of him before he could do anything. Kuro spiraled in the cliff and became unconscious, but the other people from his crew started to regain consciousness. I just threw him to them and made them leave. The Black Cat ship was going away into the horizon. This encounter was pretty easy. After everything ended, we got ourselves some supplies and we were ready to leave, but Kaya invited us to show us something. Mary, the butler who Kuro almost killed, was there. He was fully bandaged, and his hair was done in a style of a goat. He even had something akin to horns. And the invitation actually was for this. They gave us a ship. It was called the Going Merry. Mary himself gave it the name. We were in need of a ship, so we took it. The Going Merry had a jib and a central steel rudder. The ship's armaments consisted of 4 cannons, 1 in the bow pointing forward, 1 in the stern, and 2 pointing to either side. It is a caravel type of ship. Mary explained me how to steer it, and I quickly memorized everything. Nami herself was nearby, so she understood everything as well. The giant backpack was rolling down the hill with a shout of, "Stop me coming from it." He rolled till he almost hit the ship, but me and Zoro each just put a foot down in front of him and stopped him. Yusuf, well guys, I guess we will see each other on the seas. Luffy, what do you mean? Yusuf, I decided to set sail and become a warrior of the sea. Luffy, come on Yusuf, you know it already, don't you? Yusuf actually had tears pooling into his eyes. He jumped up and said, I am the captain. Luffy, well you really aren't, but whatever you say. After that a notification popped up. Yusuf has joined the crew. Yusuf, SCR 10, AGL 12, did 15, then 60, was 80. We just all started laughing. After we finished putting all of our supplies from the older boats, we set sail for the next destination. We were still in need of crewmates. Maybe a cook would be good. I myself cooked up all the food, but I wasn't a good cook by far. It was edible but not delicious. But food gave more energy, and energy was in very big need at sea. So our next destination was somewhere where we could find a good cook. Chapter 11, The Cook and the Crook. Nami was standing on the new acquired ship the Going Merry, daydreaming and thinking how to solve her problem about Arlong, the fisherman pirate. While Zoro, Yusuf, Luffy, and Wolfie were talking. Yusuf, so you actually helped Wolfie from since he was a little baby? Luffy, yeah, he trained with me almost all of my childhood. He is very strong. Actually, he would be a good sparring partner for you, Zoro. Zoro, HMPH, do you say that this wolf is stronger than me as well? Luffy, well, let's just make a show of force, shall we, Wolfie? Wolfie, ow, ow, ow. Before Zoro could even react, Wolfie used Sori and appeared in front of him, pushed him down, and had his mouth almost nearing his neck ready to take a bite. Zoro wasn't able to do anything, since he was taken by surprise by Wolfie's speed, so he was taken down relatively easily. Zoro, okay, I understand. Tell him to get off me. Luffy, so Zoro, now that you understand, I will teach you some techniques and I will have you to spar with Wolfie. When you will be strong enough, we will do a 3-way fight. Zoro, okay, Captain, I understand. Wolfie got up from Zoro and wagged his tail at Luffy from his eyes. It could be seen like he was asking, did I do good? Luffy petted him and told him he did very good, and he was a very good boy. After that he started to train Zoro into the ways of Rakishiki. Zoro was a swordsman, so Rankyaku and Shigen were not useful for him, so Luffy started to teach him firstly Zoro. While the swordsman had great strength and good agility, he lacked in technique and finesse. So Luffy had to work with him on that. While Zoro and Luffy were training, Yusuf got bored, so he decided to try out the cannons. He aimed at a nearby giant rock formation, and struck it head-on. Even he himself was surprised by his accuracy. Luffy looked at him, and gave him a thumbs up. Yusuf puffed up his chest, taking a bit of pride on his shot. A little while later shouts of an angry man could be heard nearing the ship. A man made his up on the deck, and shouted how he and his brother were almost killed, and he wanted to beat up the damn pirates that done this. The man is an average-sized man with somewhat tan skin. He is always seen wearing a pair of sunglasses, and has a black tattoo on his left cheek that reads, "See." He has short black hair, and is usually seen carrying his sword. His eyebrows always seem to be pointing down to make a scowl. But before he could do anything he spotted Zoro and started crying. "Brother Zoro, what are you doing here? Did you get captured by these pirates?" "Zoro, Johnny, is it you? What happened to you, Saku?" "And no, I didn't get captured, I just decided to join them." "Donnie, oh big bro Zoro, it's bad. Yusaku actually became really sick, and we decided to rest on that rock formation, but someone shoot it." Usopp was behaving really sheepishly right now. Cold sweat was appearing on his face, and he was scratching the back of his neck awkwardly. Anyone that saw him knew that he felt bad about it. Donnie dragged up another male with a makeshift stretcher from a tiny boat. Yusaku has a black shirt with a green coat and red headgear. He has plaid yellow shorts over unshaven legs and dark shoes. He was pale white and unconscious. There was also a bit of blood near his lips. Nami heard all of the commotion and came over. When she saw Yusaku, an annoyed expression appeared on her face. "Nami, you guys, don't you even know basic stuff? He has a beginning of scurvy because he didn't eat any fruits. Usopp, go into the kitchen and get some lemons, make a lemonade, and make this guy here drink it." "Usopp, I Nami." Usopp saluted and brought the lemons over. Usopp directly made lemonade on the spot and fed it to Yusaku. Suddenly Yusaku came back to life and started to dance with Johnny, saying how he was alright, but he vomited a bit of blood and collapsed afterwards. Nami, even more annoyed than before, berated them angrily. "Nami, it's impossible to get better so fast. Just start resting. You give me a headache of how dumb you are." While the two friends of Zoro settled down, Nami came over to Luffy and asked, "Nami, we need to cook right. Situations like these are very common at sea, and someone who would know nutrition and how to make food better would be really useful." "Luffy, I know Nami, but I can't recruit any cook I find. I need someone decently strong, and the cook must also be very good." While Zoro, Johnny, and Yusaku were recalling their past of bounty hunting, Johnny actually heard the conversation of Luffy and Nami, so he immediately came over to them and said, "Johnny bro and sis, I know a place where you can get a good fighting cook." Luffy, "Oh, and where's that?" Johnny, "On one of the greatest moving restaurants in East Blue, the Barati." Luffy, "Oh, I see. Then do you know where the Barati is?" Johnny, "Sure thing big bro. Do you need the location right now?" Luffy, "No, tell it to Nami here. She is the navigator. She will set course immediately." Johnny, "Okay, big bro." After that Johnny told Nami the coordinates, and with the help of everyone, they set sail for the floating restaurant Barati. After a while of sailing they finally reached the restaurant. It was in a circular shape, and it had the theme of a fish, everything a fish had included. But before they could debark and go get something to eat and ask around, a marine ship stopped nearby, and a man wearing a pinstrip white suit and some metal kind of knuckle with purple hair came out and said, "Full body Marine Lieutenant Iron Fist, full body, and I do not recognize your pirate flag." The time it took for them to reach the Barati, Luffy made Usopp create their pirate flag. It was a normal black pirate flag with a skull and crossbones, but the skull was wearing a straw hat. Luffy, of course you wouldn't recognize it, it was painted recently. "Full body whatever, just sink them, men." The marine cronies fired a cannonball at the Going Merry, but before it could even land it was coughed and thrown back by Luffy, his straw hat shadowing his eyes. You couldn't really see his expression very well, but from his aura, you could tell he was pretty angry. "Luffy, yo marine trash, if you tried that again, I'm not gonna let it slide just like I will do it now, do you understand? Full body, you dirty pirate, how dare you insult me?" But before Full Body could say a new order, a blonde woman wearing a red dress came out of the ship and said to Full Body, "Dear, how much do we have to wait? I'm hungry." Full Body, "Oh, it's okay dear, we are going now." Full Body, "Count yourself lucky straw hat, I have better things to do than fight it out with you." Luffy, "HMPH trash." Full Body, "Why you little?" "Dear, please let's go." Full Body, "Okay." Things didn't escalate after that. Both sides just entered the restaurant peacefully and found their own tables. A blonde chef with long legs who was wearing a black suit with a blue shirt underneath and a blue tie. He also had swirly eyebrows. He was giving the order to Full Body. Full Body tried to impress his date by guessing the wine he ordered just by tasting, but the chef made a fool of him by giving him the wrong bottle. Full Body tried to escalate things by planting a fly in his soup and blaming the chef, but it ended really bad for him when he spilled the soup. "You damn scumbag, don't you dare to waste food in the front of a sea chef." Before Full Body could do anything he was dangling in front of the chef, his body bloody and beaten. Another chef with a shaved head was looking pretty angrily at the blonde chef. "Damn it Sanji, why do you treat the customer that way?" "Sanji, Patty, you know that people who waste food are not our customers." "Patty, I could care less what he uses the food for as long as he pays." While the two were arguing, Luffy was looking at Sanji with interest and thought, maybe he is the one I need on the crew, let's just observe further. Before the two of them could continue arguing, a gunshot was heard outside and a marine was rushing inside, yelling, "Jin, the man demon of the Kree pirates escaped." But before he could say anything else he was shot in the back and he collapsed. Jin is a relatively thin man of average height with short, scruffy hair, a scruffy beard, and a slight mustache. He has dark circles under his eyes, as though he lacks sleep. Jin wears an open white jacket with a red sea serpent design on each side with a green shirt underneath, grey pants matching with his jacket, a grey headband with blue stripes design, and 2 spherical earrings on each ear. He made his way to a table and put his pistol on it. Paddy came near his table and asked, "How would sir want to pay for his food? Do you accept lead?" He pointed his gun towards Paddy. "Unfortunately sir, we don't." Before Jin could do anything, he was slammed down on the floor, both table and chair broken. He was also thrown out of the restaurant. Paddy was sheepishly scratching his neck and said, "Oh, I broke the tables now boss, that fool cut my salary."